question. I've worked for Aboriginal people in Central Australia for around 30 years. The last 5 to 7 years would have to be the most difficult years that we've ever faced. We've seen an unprecedented level of change. We've had the intervention, which included compulsorily acquired 5-year leases and income management to go with it. The end of the CDPs, severe restrictions on outstations, homeland funding, the rollout of government leasing agenda, the removal of permits from communities, the abolition of bilingual education, the abolition of community councils in favour of regionalised shires, the abolition of community housing organisations in favour of territory housing. Most of these policy changes were based on a view that Aboriginal people and their organisations had failed, or were corrupt, or even worse, whatever that might have been. I've never seen Aboriginal people so demoralised, or so unclear about what the future holds for your community, for your families, or for your children. The Aboriginal peoples in the Territory have been on the receiving end of constant changes in policy and programs by every level of government. It is clear to me that governments have lost their way in Aboriginal affairs. They don't know what the solutions are, and their own governance and implementation capacity is the lowest it's ever been. At the end of the day, governments will come and go, but Aboriginal people will still be here, as has always been the case. That's why the summit is about, and your governance agendas. It will highlight that despite the difficult political environment and the constant media stories of failure and defeat, there are many Aboriginal people and their organisations are doing some great work and exercising strong governance in all its forms. From the management of Aboriginal organisations or enterprises through the ongoing exercise of traditional law and culture, the assertion of legal, land and native title rights, and the hard job of making wise decisions about resources and money. There are many examples of strong, effective and legitimate Aboriginal governance in the Northern Territory. Now is the time to recognise and celebrate these, and consider how to build on these strengths and to achieve greater practical self-determination. As I want you to reclaim the concept of self-determination. Self-determination has been bastardised and shoved in the closet by governments. To me, it means having genuine decision-making power and responsibility about what happens on your land, in your families and communities, in your governing systems, and in your future development. It's about having meaningful control over your own lives and cultural well-being. So what can we do now? Drawing on your law and culture, your relationships and values, your skills and resources to shape your own future and to control the things that are important to you and to achieve the outcomes that you want. The summit will be a wasted opportunity if we only focus on what the government should do for you. Of course, the role of government plays is critical, and there will be many messages and actions discussed over the next 2 days that will need to be communicated to all levels of government. But I am very keen that we don't spend all of our time and energy talking about what should be delivered by governments. Because that is not self-determination in action. I'm most interested in what you can do for yourselves, how you determine your own future. If you are unified and solid, then you stand a chance of getting governments to support your vision. I'd like to welcome here today Mr. Mickey Gooder, the Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander Social Justice Commissioner. He'll be speaking after lunch. Among other things, he will be talking about the importance of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples and how this can be used to progress the rights of Aboriginal Torres Strait Islanders in Australia. The Declaration affirms your rights, including the right to equality, to self-determination and self-government. It is an essential framework. The Central Land Council supports that declaration, urges the Australian Government to enter into a new relationship with Aboriginal people based on recognition of these rights. Make no mistake, I'm a firm advocate of the need to address the fundamental injustices and inequalities which flow from the lack of a negotiated government-to-government relationship between Aboriginal people and the Australian Government. The lack of recognition in the Australian Constitution. Both need to be remedied. But as history tells us, these rights will not be delivered to you on a plate. You need to fight for it. And non-Aboriginal Australians will need to support your struggle. Even though times seem tough, we have already fought for and secured some impressive rights and wins. That's just the beginning, because now we have to face what might be an even bigger challenge. You have to be able to practically deliver on your rights and promises in order to ensure that life is better on the ground and for future generations. In my view, we have two big challenges ahead. First, we need to be unified. We need to be strong and strategic in our negotiations for stronger rights, and this is difficult. When many of our communities and families are suffering the impacts of alcohol and drugs, many people are consumed with so much internal conflict. We can't ignore the problems that are ruining young lives. The drugs, the alcohol, the violence, the lack of education, the loss of cultural knowledge. We need to confront them and look at our own personal role and our own behaviour. Secondly, you need to be ready and capable to take on the responsibility that comes with achieving greater rights and more power. What comes with power comes responsibility. They're linked. It's like having your Kura and Kurunua relationship. You can't have one without the other. To exercise power, you need to accept the responsibilities to lead, to govern, to work, importantly to make tough decisions and to increase your own skills to implement those decisions. And this, as you all know, is not an easy task. You have to ask yourselves, where do you want to be in 20 years? Someone mentioned the last time we had a big get-together like this was 20 years ago, here in Tennant Creek. 1993 we had a governance conference. So where do we want to be in 20 years? Back here talking about this again? How do you want your clans, your nations and communities to be governed? What role can your cultural values and law play in strengthening your governance solutions? How can you support women and young people to play a greater leadership role? How can you use the organisations you already have to help us get there? How do you build new structures and build your own capacity? Can your organisations, both new and old, help to keep traditional decision-making processes strong and reinforce your law and your culture? These are critical questions that we hope will be addressed over the coming 2 days. How's that red light going? We getting on the yellow light? I believe that we need a plan. Some might call it a roadmap for claiming actual control over your own lives, based on your own informed decisions about your governance arrangements, and a shared commitment to build a future for your kids that allows them to excel in both worlds, your world and the white world. Neither the political nor the legal system will give you self-determination. It's got to be created by you, fought for and implemented by you. To do that, you need to be ready with the skills, your cultural authority and confidence to claim those rights, to turn those rights into realities on the ground. You can start by acting now on the things you do control and make decisions about priority issues to tackle. You can decide now to work together, to be strong and unified, to increase your governing skills and capabilities, to exercise your rights, to adequately prepare the younger people for the weighty responsibility that comes with any quest for greater control and power. So the next 2 days is only the start of the conversation, but we should start it now. So this is the time for you, as Aboriginal leaders from across the Northern Territory, to talk together, share your solutions and insights about what you know works well for you. So let's start determining for ourselves what you want your diverse forms of government to be like in the future, and work together to make it happen. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. Thank you.